A lot of my paintings are of figures in a landscape, usually groups of figures. It's representational. I like them to look real, so I get involved in the textures of things as well, the kind of quality of grass or trees or fabrics, the clothes that the figures are wearing. And I like to create what I call a real space or a natural space in the painting, and so the landscapes are as important as the figures are. I also get involved with the kinds of specific light. So I like to get a sense, say, of the kind of light at a time of year or a time of day in the paintings. And one of the reasons they're so large is that I like the viewer to be able to be included in the space of the painting. I like the viewer to feel almost as if they can enter that space, and that I can, in a large painting, make the figures approaching life size, not quite life size, but fairly large. It does give a sense of importance, and I just enjoy making a figure close to life size. Well, I really use a pretty big palette. I would say I would use almost all the colors. I don't use a limited palette the way some artists do. I do a lot of animals, yes. Yes, again, the circus series that I did or have all been animal acts in the circus, things like elephants or horses or things like that. I think it's hard to talk about how you see. You know, or I know, that I'm attracted to certain kinds of subject matter, and that's why you paint them. You're interested enough or involved with them enough to want to make a painting. I did do at one time a whole series of paintings that were based on family photographs, and I use my family and my friends in my paintings. I use specific people as models for the figures, and actually I work from photographs, from black and white photographs. Well, in some ways, I think I grew up in a home where art was very appreciated, and my mother was and is a great appreciator. She took us to museums and to events a lot. My father was a music critic, and he used to draw. He had drawing ability, even though he never became an artist, and he used to draw to amuse us when we were children. And in looking back on it, my father had his own studio where he listened to music and he wrote. And I think very early the idea that having your own studio and sort of being able to work at home was a very desirable thing. And of course, part of being an artist is that you have your own place, and you sort of have a certain amount of control in making what you want to make, and in sort of control over your own time. Well, a lot I think of putting together a figure composition has to do with looking at earlier art, and so through looking over a period of time, you begin to get familiar with poses that fit together. I think that it is more difficult for women, but I think that there's a lack of self-confidence still on the part of women. what is important to me is using landscapes that I'm familiar with. I do use landscapes that I've known since I was a child, and a lot of the landscapes aren't just visually interesting to me, but they have a lot of associations, memories connected with them. It's not just because I find the forms visually interesting, which I do, but it's because I played there and I'm sort of concerned with doing something that has memories connected with it, as well as present reality. And some of my later paintings are more concerned with what I would call mythology or narratives. And so, and this will get complicated because some of the mythology I've been involved in would go back to, say, Orpheus and Eurydice. That for me sort of represents a trip to the other world, or that there is another world that sometimes we make contact with and sometimes we don't.